Welcome to the Anti-Hustle Business Podcast. I am your host, Shannon Whaley, and I'm here to help coaches, consultants, and service providers like you build profitable, sustainable online businesses without the hustle or the burnout that's so prevalent in the online space. I am here to show you that there is a totally different way to do business that doesn't leave you burnt the fuck out and hating your life. It's time to ditch the hustle culture and embrace a new way of doing business. So get ready to redefine success on your terms and build a thriving anti-hustle based business where you have more money, more naps, more travel, more freedom, more whatever the fuck you want in your life. So buckle up and let's dive in. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the podcast. I am excited to have a guest on today. As I've been sharing over the last couple of episodes, I've really wanted to focus on storytelling and hearing more of my friends and community members' stories and how they got to do what they're doing and how they got to where they are. And so today I have my friend and former client, Karen. I know she has a surprise for me. I told her not to tell me until we unveil it on the podcast. But the last I heard, she had moved into divorce coaching and is showing up on social media. She has her podcast. I will let her introduce herself. And yeah, surprise me with your new your new title.
Surprise! Hi, yeah. I am Karen Shatafian. Yeah. And this is so fun. I'm so excited to be here and talk to you about my story. And I love that you are going back to your roots about storytelling, because first of all, you are such an amazing storyteller, but also I think that's literally when you break everything down, that's what's most important is our stories and our journeys and how we get to where we are, right? But yes, I have always been a life coach for women. I started in about 2013 dabbling, and then I got certified in, I think it was 2017. And yeah, and I was just a life and empowerment coach for women, but really focusing on women over 40, women in midlife. And back then, you didn't really hear about that. You didn't hear about midlife women. Like you didn't have the midlife influencers that we have now. So it's been exciting to see the journey of that whole niche and that women over 40 finally have a freaking voice. When I was working with Shannon, I was a life coach. I had some pretty big traumas happen in my life, and it really derailed me from my business. And I'm pretty sure I didn't even want to do coaching. Was that right? When I got back, when I started working with you, I don't even think I wanted to do coaching.
You didn't want to do one-on-one. You didn't. So we were thinking about talking about events, and yeah, you were pretty like not turned on about doing any sort of like one-on-one or group coaching.
Right. Which is so interesting to me now that I reflect back on that, because one-on-one is like my lifeblood. Like one-on-one is where I get my most juice and jazz, and just, I love what I do. And I'm really freaking good at it. Like, it's funny. My client yesterday, she's like, oh my gosh, she goes, you bitch, you're so fucking insightful. And I said it would not be normal if I did not have my client calling me a bitch, because she's definitely not the first one that has. And that's the kind of relationship I have with my clients, much like you, they become, friends over time. So yeah, so I started working with Shannon. I decided, yes, I do need to go back into one-on-one coaching, because I really felt like my mission is to empower women. And I thought I wanted to be a therapist back in the day. I have my master's in counseling. And so it fit. And then after a shit ton of mindset work with you and strategy work and just a lot of support, I really,
and changing money stuff too around because it's always like, if you got paid $1,000 a month to do one-on-one coaching, do you want to do any one-on-one coaching? And most people are like, well, if you put it that way, right? So we just have to make sure you're getting paid enough and feeling like you're compensated.
Absolutely. And that was a whole thing that you had to, walk me through, because it was just, my mindset around money, my mindset around my worth, the whole, asking people for money. So we worked through a lot of shit, girl.
We did.
part of my story was I was divorced in my late 40s after a 23-year marriage with 2 kids. And that was a really big deal in my life. Probably one of the biggest like upheavals in my life.
Of course.
And I knew I wanted to work with women around that and around my story, but I hadn't worked through it enough for myself in order to really lean into helping women who are in unhappy marriages, in unhappy situations, you know, maybe been divorced, thinking about divorce, wondering about divorce, all of it. But yeah, I had to do a lot of my own healing and work in order to get to that place. And so you helped me do that as well. Like toward the end of our work together, you helped me really lean into that whole idea of being a divorce coach. And I really just built my confidence and was like, yes, I am a divorce coach. I help women who are thinking about it in the messy middle or putting the pieces back together after divorce.
And this was like years in the making. Like
yes,
I want everyone to be clear that this was because we worked together one-on-one. Then you were in the mastermind. We were working together in business school too. So like she's gone through all of my programs. This was years. So before you move into and surprise me on like what you're doing now, just like in this process, like how long in between your divorce and us working together were you? Just so people can kind of like get an understanding, because there's a lot of people who are going to be listening and they're, of course, like you want to coach around what you know best. And then sometimes if you're not far enough away from it, or if you haven't done enough, like you think like, oh, I'm fine. And then you get in there and you're like, I can't fucking coach around this because it's still too raw. You're still too activated. So that's why I'm wondering, how long had you been divorced and then us started working together?
I think it was about 3 years.
Okay, that's early. That's a short amount of time.
Yeah, I think it was about 3 years. And I was definitely, still in the thick of it. Like when you and I first started with one-on-one, my divorce shit was all over the place, like coming up everywhere.
Got it.
Yeah. So working through that was, I wasn't in a place to really lean into that role yet.
Or like market around it. Because I remember we were worried about speaking about too many things too vulnerably on social media because your kids were still processing everything, and you want to respect their privacy and what they're going through, and that was a really big thing for you. Rightly so.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was my number one hesitation about really putting myself out there and my story and everything to be able to help women, because I wanted to protect my kids in that. And also my good girl conditioning was still super strong because I had to really get used to the idea of being the villain in my divorce, because I was the one that initiated it. I was the one that left a quote unquote good marriage, so there was still a lot of shame around what kind of mom does that? What kind of woman does that? So I really had to come to terms with my good girl conditioning, release some of that so I could be okay with being the villain. It's like, this is my story. This is what happened, and I'm okay with it. And I want to tell you about it, so in case I can help you because you might be experiencing the same thing type thing. So, but it took years, to your point. Yes. Years.
And I know we were trying to get creative with your marketing too. So we were like, okay, how do you tell this story without telling people that it's you? Or how can you like acknowledge, like if you're a woman who's going through this, there are things that you were experiencing, but not you telling the story of you going through that. I was like nudging you and we were getting creative, but there was also some hard, like, I'm not ready to talk about this, or I can't. So I'm just curious, like, what shifted over the years? Like, how did you start getting more comfortable sharing your story online?
Whoa, that's a really good question. I've never really thought about that. I mean, certainly the support that I got from you and from the mastermind. When you see other brave women who are sharing their stories online, even though their story wasn't my story, you get encouragement. So that was incredibly, like, the masterminds that I was in of yours were just incredible containers, and the women in there were incredible because you draw incredible people.
True.
So that was a big deal. And you were sharing a lot of vulnerable shit about yourself online, like a lot of stuff. And I don't know. I just think I finally got to a point where it's more important to me that I'm able to share my story with women so I can help them, because I know they're feeling all alone. They're feeling like they are the only one, right? And so it became just more important for me. I had to put my own bullshit aside so I could just step into my truth and step into my gift, because I really believe that's my purpose. Is to help midlife women. Maybe it's not a divorce, maybe it's not getting out of a relationship that there's no oxygen, but where else in your life do you feel like it just doesn't fit, but you're too afraid to say anything because you're afraid that it's just going to disrupt everybody and everything around you. So yeah, I think it's just, I had to get really kind of courageous and just realize, you know what, this is important.
Yeah.
And also
the
my
gloves are
own
off.
work. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and this is where like the personal development side comes in around building your business, which so many people don't recognize. I mean, I was shocked by how deep things went. And I was like, I just want to do MailChimp. Like, I just want to, right? And there's like all this stuff that comes up and all of these feelings and things and beliefs. And yeah, I mean, I love that you brought that up, because it really is getting reconnected to your why. This is also why like doing your vision and values and reevaluating those and getting connected to your why on a regular basis, at least every 6 months to a year, to really get just anchored in of that has to be stronger than all of the voices, all of the excuses, all of the fears. And when you can truly get anchored into your purpose, and I want people, I feel like this is why we're all doing it. We want people to feel seen and heard and believed, and we want to be that person for other people because we didn't have that. And that's what has to run the show instead of all the beliefs. And so when that can get louder and stronger, everything else just kind of like falls. And you're like, fuck it. If you're mad at me, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Like that's a you thing.
Yeah. Just realizing, like really learning and realizing how our brains do not have our best interests at heart. It's
Totally.
like our brains, we try to tell ourselves all these fucked up things that keep us so small and in our comfort zone, right? Because our brain's trying to keep us safe and all that. I get it. But to learn the things that I would tell myself to keep myself stuck, and then learning how to get beyond those and kind of tell myself, just shut up, bitch, sit down. I'm going to take over now,
We're in charge.
But yeah, that was a big piece of it. And also for me too, it's like anybody who is trying to have a business on social media and use social media for marketing, everybody's like, where is everybody? I feel like I'm yelling into the void. I don't get any like feedback. And I think too, once I really started talking about divorce and the things behind the scenes, women are not going to be in my comments saying, oh yeah, me too. I want to leave my husband. And so it's like, I had to realize that. And then, but every once in a while, just enough to keep me going. It's kind of like golf. Like you hit just enough good shots to just keep you still playing. And I'm not a golfer, but the couple times I've played, that's like the sneaky thing. And so I would get just enough messages from women in my DM saying, thank you so much. Your post spoke to me today. I can't say anything online, but you're encouraging me, you're inspiring me, like all those things. So those also help, because I'm like, okay, I know there are women out there who are resonating with what I'm saying, but they can't put it online because it is such a vulnerable topic.
Okay. I'm really happy that you're talking about this too, and appreciate your honesty, because how many times did you want to quit your business?
About 489.
Yeah. And I know too, like there were times where you took a step back and you had to reevaluate, and you're like, is this what I'm meant to be doing? And like every single time you're like, it is. And one of the things that I remind people is, especially if you have a business where it's vulnerable, it's around divorce or weight loss or anything that we're shamed about in the world, then you're probably not going to get the engagement that you're looking for, those vanity metrics of lots of engagement and people, sharing it, or, I mean, maybe they're sharing it behind the scenes with their friends, but hearts, comments, whatever. And so you have to be willing to say like, hey, on the post too, like, I know that this is a really vulnerable topic. My DMs are always open, and just reminding people, like, send me a DM if you have thoughts or comments about this and you don't want it to be public, send this. And so it sounds like you were getting those, the acknowledgement and the carrots too, to keep you coming back. Thankfully,
those definitely helped because those, especially like now I'm better with it. I'm like, okay, crickets, fine. I can handle the crickets because I know that there are women out there who are listening and resonating with what I'm saying. But yeah, it's like kind of what we were talking about earlier, having a business is like its own personal development class. It's like therapy in itself. And I had no idea that I would have to dive into so much of my own personal stuff and my patterns and habits and mindset and all of it just in order to keep my business going.
Totally.
But I think when you learn that, then you're like, oh, okay. I'm not the only one who wants to blow up my business every 6 months.
I mean, I feel like 6 months is generous too. Between wanting to just ditch social media completely, live off the grid. I mean, how nice would it be to just not have to show up at all? Like, I have daydreams often about deleting everything and like living in the woods and just being a nobody again.
Yeah. Definitely. I've thought that as well.
Yeah. So want to normalize that. I feel like, especially with what's going on now, can we just get off the socials? It's just so much.
So much.
And the internet,
too much.
The internet's noisy. Yeah, it's so loud and there's lots of things happening, right? So you were actually quite resistant to call yourself a divorce coach. And we had wrapped up working together. And then, I mean, I feel like it was like another year at least. And then I saw a social media post where you're like, blah, blah, divorce coach. And I was like, that bitch, she did it finally. Like, yes.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I
was just gonna say, I want to say here, I want to interject that part of that was, who does she think she is? I had to get over that piece too, because when you really step into and you really declare something and you really are like, this is who I am and this is what I do, again, your mind is going to tell you all sorts of things. And so I just really had to get my mind used to the idea that, yes, this is who I am. This is what I do. This is what I know. This is my gift, my zone of genius, and stop trying to talk me out of it, brain. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that whole imposter syndrome thing, because, if you stay like kind of waffling and you stay not really declaring anything, you stay very safe and you're like, well, I'll just appeal to everybody, but you're going to appeal to nobody in the process. So
totally.
Yeah, it was a whole journey to get to that place where I felt so confident in my ability to walk women, no matter where they are on the divorce journey, walk them through their transformation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then when that happened, I also noticed a total shift and more confidence in your posting. I was seeing you on my feeds again, right? Like I could feel it, also knowing you personally, but I could feel you stepping into this. And the posts were good and the pictures and the stories were coming out, right? And I was like, yes, she finally worked through whatever. And I just want to reiterate too, like, again, like this was years in the making. So many people, when they start out, they think, oh, here's my niche. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'll be doing forever. And it's kind of like when you think you go to college and you change majors 4 times. I knew I was a psych major. That was just what I was doing. But a lot of people don't know what they're doing. And you learn about yourself and you change and you're like, I don't know, I actually want to talk about any of this stuff anymore. And so things just change. Also, side note, this is why you don't pay tens of thousands of dollars for a website when you're 4 months into coaching, right? Like you got to figure out who you are. Like this is such a process. And you just have to be willing to keep showing up and get it wrong or have it not feel 100%. But literally the worst thing, I mean, imagine if you're like, oh, I can't figure out my niche, so I'm not going to get started yet. You'd still be tinkering around with whatever, and you wouldn't have a business. You wouldn't have clients because you didn't have like full clarity around what you wanted to be doing. And the clarity comes from the doing. The clarity comes from saying a title and then 3 months being like, this still doesn't feel good. I got to figure something else out. So that's a segue into where are you now and what is your title and how has this shifted since then?
Well, I don't know that my title's really changed, but I look at my journey and just listening to you talk about in business, you have to be really good at being able to what's working, what's not, what feels good, what doesn't, and then move and shift with that and really listening to your intuition. And I think it's just like life, right? Like if we're in a job that we don't like or a relationship that's, not as good as it could be, it's like you have to be brave enough to listen to your intuition. What is my gut telling me? And then you have to take that step, whatever your intuition says, right? And that's what keeps us stuck in business and in life because we don't know how to listen to our intuition or we're not brave enough to take that step, right? Whether it's having that hard conversation with your partner or going in and asking your boss for a raise or deciding that the title divorce coach is too limiting and I don't want to be, held into those barriers. So that's kind of where my journey has taken me. But I had to go through each of those steps that I've gone through to get where I'm at, because had I not fully leaned into that divorce title and that, like gone all in on divorce, I don't think I would have shown myself that, yes, this is part of your story. This is something that you can help women with, but it's only part of your story. It's not your full story. And so I just started feeling like towards the end of last year that just being a divorce coach didn't feel big enough for me. And, when I was working with you, before I really leaned into the divorce work, it was midlife, helping midlife women. And I got to the place where I'm like, well, that feels too big, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm at this point now and now that I've shared so much about my own divorce journey and my own divorce story, my communities are used to hearing that. Like they know that is a part of what I do, but it's not necessarily all of what I do. So I'm kind of at this space now where I am, and I don't really have a title right now. I'm still a life coach. I'm still a divorce coach. I'm still a life coach for midlife women. But I just talk about the things that midlife women go through. And I think whether you're talking about a divorce, an unhappy job, or, thinking about, whether or not you want to be a grandma or how you feel about that title, right? It's like, where am I making myself small? Where am I not using my voice? How am I kind of subscribing to these societal expectations that, society has for women, that we just have to stay quiet and go along and take care of everybody else and worry about everybody else and everything else and put ourselves on the back burner.
Want to break free from the hustle and grind and build a successful business? I've helped thousands of clients and students leave their 9-to-5 jobs, travel the world, land their first clients, close 5-figure sales in the DMs, and grow their businesses to 6 and 7 figures. Want to know more? Visit antihustlebiz.com and transform your life and business the anti-hustle way. Okay, back to the show.
Mm-hmm. And so, little side note. So today, my oldest child turns 30. So 30 years ago today, I became a mother, which, is a kind of a big deal. And just because I've been reflecting on it. And so I thought for the longest time that, because I was a stay-home mom for many years, so I thought for the longest time that I lost myself in motherhood, that it was motherhood that kind of put this veil over my eyes, and I wasn't really able to see myself anymore. But after reflecting, it wasn't that. It wasn't the mothering per se, but it was this idea that women have that when you're a mother, you sacrifice everything for everyone.
Totally.
And this showed up in my divorce story because I am going along in this family. My marriage becomes very disconnected and kind of suffocating. But because of my fear of disrupting the family or hurting people around me, including my ex, I stayed quiet and I kept my true thoughts, desires, truth inside. So that is what I help women with. I help women really get honest about what is their truth inside. What are they feeling like they are not able to say out loud because they're afraid of not being a good mom, not being a good partner, not being a good woman, right? So I went on a little tangent, but
Love it.
but let me give myself a little plug too. So because of that, because of today, I've been a mother for 30 years. I'm offering 30 free conversations for women who see themselves anywhere in my story. They don't have to be a mom. They don't have to want a divorce. They just have to feel like there's something inside that they need support around so they can say out loud and then decide, what do I want to do with that? And what step do I want to take, if any?
I mean, there's so much here, but as you were talking, I heard that too, like from my mother who was like, I gave everything to you guys and I gave up everything. And, I was told growing up too, like the conditioning that literally was told verbatim that once you're a mother, your life is over. And your life, and she clarified, like your life as you know it is over, but it really stuck that like your life is over, right? And it's that conditioning. Cause like I know plenty of mothers that's not fucking how their life looks. They still go out with friends. They have jobs. They have hobbies. They go do things, right? And so that conditioning fucked so many women over and men because they're not married to like a fully functioning, expressed human being, right? And so this is how it affects all of us, not just the women, right? But then that gets passed down onto the daughters of this is what motherhood is supposed to look like, and then the sons, this is what your wife is supposed to be doing to be a good mother, and it just keeps fucking going, and it's so detrimental.
Yeah, so detrimental. And it's so layered also because like the woman that you were describing, like going out and I was her. Like motherhood did not keep me from still kind of like I learned how to surf. I would still have girls' night out. I would learn archery. I would go to wherever on a little vacay with some girlfriends. So it wasn't that I wasn't living fully. I wasn't letting motherhood like keep me small in that way. But for me, it was the idea of, oh my gosh, I'm so unhappy in my marriage. But if I even take the lid off of that, it's going to blow up my life. It's going to hurt my kids. It's going to ruin everything. And what kind of mother or woman does that? What kind of woman puts her own happiness above her family, above everybody, her kids? Like that was a wild concept that brought me so much shame that I had to do so much work around. Absolutely. Because I didn't feel like my unhappiness was correct.
Like what a selfish move, right?
No, my unhappiness was not a good enough reason to bring this into to talk about this unhappiness with my ex-husband, right? Because it just was too much of a risk for me at the time. And then you get to a point where you're like, I'm going to self-destruct if I don't start talking about this.
Yeah.
Painful.
Absolutely.
Such a painful place to be in.
Yeah. I love that you're doing the 30 calls for anyone who's seen any of this, because also this happens often with my clients where I also grow from working with you all, right? And I learned so much, and like in the process of working with you. Okay, so first of all, when I realized that when you were talking about midlife women and then you named the age gap, and I was like, oh my God. It was such a wake up call. It was such a wake up call. I'm like, I'm your demographic. I'm midlife. It had not even dawned on me that like I was considered this midlife woman. And I was like, oh, that hurts my feelings. And then what you were talking about was about like reinventing yourself, or that, and like what really landed for me was that I have an opportunity to design and be in control of what the second part of my life looks like. Because the first part, you're being raised, you're in school, you have your parents telling you what to do, you're figuring out who the fuck you are in college, right? But then there comes a point where it's like, I don't have a husband, I don't have any of that anymore. And so now it was like this awakening to me as a result of working with you, being your coach, like not that.
Yeah.
I had this awakening, and it was so empowering, where it's like, I'm in charge of the next, God or universe, whatever willing, the next 40 years of my life. I am in charge of this. I get to design it. It gets to look any way how I want it to look. And what does that look like? And so
And let me just say, too, first of all, that's the first time you've ever said that. So that just makes me so happy that you're my coach and that you're getting things from my story.
My journal, like, yeah.
But that first
my client hurt my feelings today.
Bitch. That first part that, you were talking about how you're going to school and you're also checking off these boxes that society has told us is what we need to do to have a happy life. And then we get to our 40s and we're like, wait a minute. I checked all the boxes. I've played by the rules that were not really written for me. And I'm still unhappy. So what the fuck? Mm-hmm. And I think too, a lot of women have a very hard time even letting themselves think about, well, what do I want my next 2 years, 10 years, 20 years, 40 years? What do I want them to look like? Because we are so conditioned with not doing that, with not thinking about ourselves first. Like you said, it's selfish. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that's why it takes having somebody in your corner, whether it's a therapist or a coach or a support group or something. It takes something for women to feel like they even have permission to ask themselves, what do I want?
Absolutely. And the whole concept of giving other people permission, I know people have feelings about that, but like when we see other women online doing things where we're like, I could never do that, or I could never whatever, and then you're seeing people online, you're like, those reels and those stories become permission slips of like, well, fuck, if she could do it, I can do it. And this is why the storytelling is so important, to obviously just like share. And this, like, share as much as you're willing to share. Like, don't ever share more than you're ready to and feel pressured to do that. But also, those things that we see just become permission slips to be bolder, but I'm not dreaming big enough. This bitch went and did blah, 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 right? I really need to step up my game. Or being inspired by people's travel, or oh, she had the whole life that looks good on paper, and all of a sudden she's single and traveling and like surfing around the world. Like, what the fuck? I want what she's having.
Absolutely. So and important. I think that's what we have to do, or that's what I feel like I have to do, is show women that it's like we can take the blinders off and really look at because we only get one fucking life. Like, what are we doing?
Exactly.
If we, and I know some women may be totally happy and content with just sacrificing themselves, their desires and their dreams for their people. And that's fine too. No shame to that. I'm just wanting women to just have the courage to look. Just ask yourself, am I happy? Am I fulfilled in this job, this relationship, this city, this role? And if not, just have the courage to kind of take a look and get curious about, well, what could something else look like? And how could I feel more fulfilled in some area? Yeah. Where am I not allowing myself to? Because I'm too afraid of what other people are going to say. And believe me, hurting my kids, like asking their dad for a divorce, there are definitely things I fucked it up, and I would change how I did things, but I would not change what I did, even though I knew it hurt my kids. And to say that as a parent, like, yikes.
Yeah.
But I knew.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot to work through. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, you only get one life, And by the way, my kids and I are closer now than ever. It took us work also with each other, with each of my kids, to work through a lot of hurt and anger. And they still have stuff. It still comes up sometimes, but we have a solid enough relationship that we can deal with it as it comes up.
Yeah. Through our work together, I remember when I left my marriage and I was like, I'm fucking done. Like, I need to dismantle literally everything. I came out of the closet when I was 17, so I already knew that I wasn't straight, but I was like, I really need to start looking at, like, what kind of relationship do I want to be in? And it helped me come out as polyamorous, and I don't ever want to be in a monogamous relationship again. And that was like definitely due to the work that we had done of I'm done trying to play by other people's rules. I'm going to play the second part of my life by my own rules and figure out what those are along the way, and really dissect and look at the systems and the structure that I have been forced to participate in, and look at, is this even for me? Because there's so much stuff that's the compulsory heterosexuality, right? Like, everyone's straight and that's just how it is. And then you got to come out of the closet, and the indoctrination into these different systems and stuff where you don't even question them. And I was like, you know what? Now that I'm free and I don't have to worry about hurting somebody else's feelings, I mean, that really does change things when you're not partnered or married. You can live more freely, right? But it's like, that the work that we did together was 100% part of, like, I'm undoing everything. Like, I'm rewriting the script. I'm exploring all of the things, because what I was doing for the first 43 years of my life didn't fucking feel good. And I was doing the same things over and over and over again, trying to get different results. And I was like, how about we just do what you want to do? So here we are.
That just makes me, like, I can't even tell you how that makes me feel, because I think about then, like, all the relationships I've had with other people, friends, whatever, who maybe have heard my story or heard me talk about things. It's like, I don't even know who else I'm impacting by just sharing my story and sharing my truth. And, to know that it impacted you that way in such like a big way, that's everything. Like, that's what I want for all women. I want all women to be able to just look at my story and go, things could be different. Let me really kind of figure this out. And how could things feel different? What would feel good, right? Wow, that's really cool, Shannon.
I would say too, like, this is also a good reminder of, like, we live very different lives, and your story and you just telling it the way that you're living it impacted me in a way where I can live a very different life, but on my own terms. And so I feel like a lot, we think like, oh, I'm going to be attracting or telling a story to people who are in similar situations, like other midlife women who are repartnered or who have children, right? Like we couldn't have any of like more complete opposite kinds of lives. And still your story had such an impact, right? That it like changed that trajectory for me. So I think too, just remembering that, like you said, like we don't know whose lives we're impacting by doing that, but also it just has such an impact in ways that we like never could even predict.
Yeah. And I think that really is the crux of why I kind of stepped back from the divorce coach label, because it isn't so much about divorce. And I didn't want women to like not hear what I was saying because, oh, I'm in a happy marriage or I'm not divorced, right? It's like my message is for all women, even not even midlife women, like just all women.
Totally.
Who feel inside that they're not aligned with their life. Like who they are is not aligned with the life they're living in, that there's something really not fitting or not right. And by the way, it takes a shit ton of courage to even admit that. Like a lot of women can't even go there and allow themselves to admit that inside, deep inside, they are unhappy because of what that means on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So good. Ah, so good. So how can people find you?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not off the grid yet. I'm still on all the socials. I have such a love-hate relationship with social media. But I'm on Instagram. I'm very active on Instagram. I have a Facebook page. I have a website. And KarenShatafian.com is where you can find my coaching packages, things like that. My handle Instagram is Karen_Shatafian_coach. But if you Google me, Karen Shatafian, life coach for women,
I'll put it all in the show notes too. Yeah, it'll be in the show notes.
Thank you. Yeah. But I really do want to encourage women to take me up on, my calendar. I just opened 30 spots today for free conversations. It's just a safe, honest conversation about where you are in life, where you want to be in life, or maybe life is good, but you have this inkling for something more, whatever it is. I'm opening my calendar for women to just have some conversations and decide what they want. And I would like to give a little plug for my podcast, Drinks with the Girls.
Thank you. I was waiting. Yeah.
Yes. This has been such a fun endeavor. I co-host it with my friend Lisa, and we really just talk about all the things that we are finally feeling like we can talk about as women. Like a lot of things that have been really kind of hush hush, or you don't bring up, whether it's menopause, or in fact, we just recorded a conversation about breaking rules as a midlife woman and what are rules that we're breaking. It's a place for women to just feel like they're just sitting down at a coffee shop and having drinks with their girls, or sitting down over a cocktail and having drinks with their girls and just shooting the shit and letting it all out and having honest conversations about things that affect women. So that was a long description. Check us out.
That will also be in the show notes. Yeah, no, and I've been a guest on there, and it was a really fun episode. And then we have another episode coming up. So, and it really is like you just feel like you're hanging out on the couch, just chatting with your friends. So awesome.
Yeah, it's fun.
Thank you so much for being here and sharing all of this with us. I love you so much.
Thank you so much. I love you too. This was so great. It's good to see you and be on your pod.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure you go find Karen on the socials, and I will be back next week.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Anti-Hustle Business Podcast. I hope you found inspiration in the message and that you got some actionable next steps that you can implement right away in your business to start seeing results and moving the needle. Remember, you don't have to sacrifice your well-being or your mental health to achieve success. So prioritize your pleasure, play, and rest while you build your business around your life. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps me reach more entrepreneurs like you who want to do business in a completely new way. For more resources and to connect with my community, please visit my website at antihustlebiz.com and follow me on Instagram at @TheShannonWhaley. Until next time, keep taking those strategic anti-hustle steps toward building the business and life that you love. Take care.